When we started, our world was this big, and then you start doing training, you start hanging around with people who are bigger, better, further along the journey, and it doesn't stop. Now the people we get to speak to and work with, the world is this big. It's an absolute monster.
Because I remember when we launched Harvey, it wasn't like, oh, it's all right, if this doesn't work, we'll just go back work for another agency. It was like, this has to work. Like, we are all in.
The only way this thing fails is if a meteor hits the earth.
If you don't feel severe imposter syndrome every 12 to 18 months, you're not moving forward. We feel like the luckiest people in the world.
Welcome to the first ever episode of the How to Become podcast. I'm Adam Powell.
And I'm Harvey Rivers. How the bloody hell did we get here?
Well, we're failed footballers.
Yeah.
Turned immigrants.
Yeah.
Turned recruiters.
Yeah. Turned business owners with our recruitment agency, Harvey. We've got some merch. Can you get that on the cameras today, Geordie? You got the hat as well. Coming to a store near you soon.
And now we're rookie podcast host apparently too.
Yeah. And that's the first episode. So thanks for listening.
Tuning in.
No, bloody hell, mate. What a journey. When did it all start?
And it all started for us when we were 14 years old, rocking up to a freezing cold football trial at Hereford United. There was 5 changing rooms, 20, 30 kids in each. I don't know how it all happened, but we got sat next to each other.
Yeah. I remember they just chuck you turn up and there's loads of kids just kicking around the car park and they just chuck you in. What's your name? Yeah, tick you off the list. Right, you'll change your room number 4. And you walk in there and obviously find a seat. Like, you're nervous as hell. And who was there first? Was it me or you?
My memory's not that good. I'm going to say it was you. You're more punctual than me.
Yeah,
so I was
and
probably
then
late.
you've come in and probably gone, that guy looks like a great bloke. I'll go and sit by him.
Just to set the scene for the nerves here, right? So in England, everybody wants to be a professional footballer. It's the be-all and end-all of your whole life, right? You grow up watching David Beckham, watching England, and you go, that's got to be me. So we were quite late bloomers where some kids were in an academy with a pro club since the age of 5 or 6. Now we were 14, so you kind of go in, really, I've got to be in the environment by the time I'm 16, I've kind of missed the boat. So the nerves were high.
The chances were already slim. Let's put it that way. And then, you go out there and it's like the day you probably play 3 or 4 different games in your team, which is like your changing room. And then, you just have the weight. At the end of the day, it's not like they read out all the successful people. They go, right, we're going to go and think about this now. And you go away and you're like, for 2 weeks, just twiddling your thumbs. Like, bearing in mind, this is your absolute dream. Like, you're just not waiting back on a job, that you're like, half here, half there. Like, this is the dream.
Mate, I used to be like in the notebook at school, like writing HUFC number 4, like, out of that, manifesting the shit out of it.
Fuck, yeah. And then you get the call and you get like a no number and you're like, shit, this is it. And it's some telesales person. And you're like, no, it's not. No, and then when it does happen, it's like that 30-second phone call is literally make or break for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember I was on break at school, which is a bit weird calling a 14-year-old kid like while he's at school. But anyway, it was a great call to get. Yeah, you're in, buzz in. I think the first thing I did was text you, mate, did you get in? And you go, yep, happy days, we made it.
Yeah, we're on. And then the dream started for about 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Worcester at the time, which if you're not English, doesn't mean much to you. But it was probably like a 45-minute drive or train away from Hereford. So I couldn't get to Hereford, was a bit of an issue. So I used to get the bus from Martley, my little village, to Worcester. Then I get the train from Worcester to Hereford. And then big Steve Rivers, Harv's dad, used to pick me up from the train station down to the training ground.
Yeah, I used to finish school, go home, get ready. Dad would pick me up, obviously go and get the big man, and then off up to, I think it was Victoria Park where we used to train. And the first few weeks, like, you just get absolutely beasted. This is 14 years ago, so it's still like old school English football, where it's like pre-season is just run. And I'm a goalkeeper. And at the time, I was a slightly overweight goalkeeper. So those first few weeks were pretty rough for me.
And it was full on because you're in a group of an environment with all these kids who want the same thing, right? So there's a lot of competition, but you also try and become mates because they're your teammates. So it's a bit of a strange feeling. And I was only there for a shorter period of time. I think probably 2 or 3 months. In the end, the travel just got a bit too much, getting buses, trains, lifts all the time. So I went back to kind of my hometown club, Worcester, and then a few weeks after that, ended up going to Cheltenham Town, which is another pro club, and I was there for a couple of years, and Harvey stayed at Hereford at that time, so unfortunately that was the first divorce we had.
Yeah, it sounded like it was a cute little love story, and then he left me. So, it it was such a cutthroat environment. Like, as I'd said, we got into this a little bit later than what you traditionally would. Most kids would be in there from 10, and you stay at the same club and it would all be built towards getting a full-time scholarship, which is effectively like your first pro contract. But for us jumping into that environment at 14, 15, it's when you're just before you turn 16 is when they start talking about offering you scholarships. So it was like kind of turbocharging. You've got 12 months to get out there, make yourself known, and try and win yourself a pro contract. And obviously you felt the travel, and the club probably wasn't the best environment for you at the time, so moved on. I was quite lucky where the under-18 teams, with the scholars already, didn't have a goalkeeper, so I was pumped up pretty quickly into the under-18s, so hung around because that was a great experience and one that I thought would land me a scholar, but it didn't.
You got the shit out of the stick there, really, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he said I was too short. Which wasn't the first time you'll hear that on this podcast.
So then I go to Cheltenham, keeper. I think this wasn't very good, so we needed someone. I said, well, mate, this fella from Hereford called Harvey. I think he's worth a shout. So he got the call up, came in, and it's pretty quick turnaround from there. Was it like a week or so? You played a game and they said, yeah, we'll have you.
Yeah, I'd been on trial with a few different clubs.
Here we go.
Yeah, hang on, ready? Name drops. No, because Hereford were obviously dragging their heels, and it's like getting towards the end of the season, every other club is doing their scholars, and I'm thinking, fuck, I'm going to miss out here. So I had to make the brave decision. Managed to go on a few different trials, Swindon Town, Leicester City, who were on the cusp of the Premier League at the time. So
I don't know about cusp, before.
So I was like, come on, surely get something here. And then, Powell said, mate, we haven't got a keeper. And to be fair, Russ Milton at the time said, come in, played a game, did really well. And they chucked a contract in front of me the same day. So it was like, finally, breathe. You can actually focus on your school exams rather than chasing this dream.
So then what happens, mate? You've got your 2-year scholarship. You've just finished year 11, so you're 16, you're leaving school. What happens next?
Mate, it's bizarre because you do your last school exam and then all of a sudden everyone else is going on their nice 3-4 month long holiday, and it's like 2 days later you're packing your bags, 16, leaving home to go and play football and move into a house with a few other 16-year-olds and not much supervision. So you can imagine the sort of stuff we got up to.
It was chaos. So imagine this. I'm living with a lovely old couple called Margaret and Brian, sweetest people, and then Harvey's with their son around the corner in his house. So there's me and a mate and another mate. Harv's there with a couple of lads as well. And you kind of train 8:30 till 2, right? So it's not really a massive day. So you've got so much time on your hands, not really a lot of money.
Yeah, and you're still minors. And like, I hope I don't stitch him up here, but they're meant to look after you, the people you live with. But Ian had a partner and he spent most of his time at her house. So it was like, we were just like 4 16-year-old lads in this nice 4-bedroom detached house in Cheltenham, just running amok with no supervision. So you got that part of it. And then it's like in the day, you're also trying to be a professional footballer. So you're like dialed in, super focus, and then just being idiots all afternoon.
I think everyone says to you at that time, oh, this is the best 2 years of your life. Like, don't take it for granted. And I think you're 16, right? And everyone tells you that all the time. School's the best time of your life. This will be. You can't just go, oh, yeah, like, I'm not too asked. But looking back, and even though life's pretty good now, that was an incredible couple of years.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think you're so fixated on that goal and you learn so many life lessons from being in that environment, and even lessons now that have probably helped us propel our business Harwell to where it is. But at the time, you don't realise it. What do you feel some of them would be?
I think the way the hierarchy works in football, I think that was a really good grounding, because we were essentially we were the labourers on site, right? In talking about work, you know how it translates. So we were the apprentices. We'd be cleaning the pros' boots. We'd be mopping the changing rooms, sweeping the floors, setting out the cones for the first team pitch, which was probably one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done. Because if you get this cone, inches in the wrong place, the gaffer comes steaming out. Oh, put these bloody cones out.
Stomping down the stairs, and you're like, fucking hell, who put the cones out?
That was a big one. I think just earning your keep and kind of building your way up. And even then, when you are further down the line and you've got the next kind of wave of apprentices coming in, probably treating them properly because you've been in their shoes. I think that was quite important.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the resilience. Like, you don't realise it at the time because it's what you want to do and it's your dream, but you go from 12 months to try and get a scholar, then you're on a scholar, and now you've got 2 years to make yourself a pro, and it's cutthroat. It's old school English football, and it's like you have to turn up every single day. And if you don't, you can quickly move to the bottom of the pile. And once in football, it's all about opinions. Once someone's made their mind up on you and they don't love you, you could have the best performance in the world, but in their head, you're already done.
You're going to struggle home. So what happens at the end of the 2 years? We used to call it D-Day, didn't we? So this clock's on. First year goes, great. Now I'm a second year scholar. And after that second year, you either get a yes, which means you're going to go offered a full-time pro contract, or you're going to get a no, which means you've got to leave the club and go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, isn't it?
Mate, it was. I remember the day, you'd like literally, it'd be, all right, lads, in 2 weeks on Thursday, it's D-Day. So you'd just be shitting yourself for 2 weeks, and the Thursday would roll around, you'd train in the morning, and you'd all be sat kind of in the canteen area, and it would be 10 or 12 lads, whatever, called out one by one.
You've made the canteen sound so glamorous, by the way. What was the actual This is not Premier League football, by the way.
Canteen / gym /
/ caravan in an old unused tennis court in the car park.
Oh,
But yeah, it's brutal, mate, isn't it? You just sat there, and was there 12 of us in our year?
I think so, yeah, it was a big year group.
There's 12, and you've been with the ringer with these lads. Like, you've been through the journey, you've gone together, and it's like, within the space of a few hours, some of you are going to get yeses and some of you are going to get nos. And when you do get nos, like, they don't keep you around. You go and get your kit and you're off.
And it was probably, what a nerve-wracking experience. Like, I didn't really know much about kind of anxiety back then, but I reckon that would have been through the roof. Like, just sat there knowing that your life could just go two completely different ways, or so I thought at the time anyway. Like, and you got the lads who had already got their deals, or they kind of knew they did, so they were sat there kind of cruising, and then you got the rest of you, which you're not sure which way it's going to go, and that wait, and your name gets called up, and you got feels like the longest walk in the world to go and get to the gaffer's office.
Yeah, and you just don't think about what's beyond football because you're so fixated. And I do think now that's been a blessing in disguise, because I remember when we launched Harwell, we kind of put ourselves in the same environment again. It wasn't like, it's all right, if this doesn't work, we'll just go back work for another agency. It was like, this has to work. Like, we are all in.
Yeah, big time. I think another learn as well, put the culture side of it. Like, you've got to get along with people who may not be the same type of person, might not have the same type of banter or the same approach for how to play football or business. But you kind of got to build that team spirit, because really if one of the parts of the puzzle isn't there, the whole group's going to struggle. So I think that coming into business, and now we've got the team of 7, which is super cool. But we do have some pretty funky characters in there, right? We're not all carbon copies of each other.
Understatement of the year.
So learning how to, I guess, maximise people's strengths, and highlight what they're really good at, I think that's definitely come from the changing room environment.
Yeah, 100%. And let's go back to that D-Day environment, because as we've painted the picture quite well, there is not much room for mistakes in this journey. And Mr. Adam Powell here, probably 2 weeks before D-Day, was called up, and a few of us got to play in a reserves game. So a reserves game, that's like the half the first teamers that aren't playing, and then probably like your top half performers in the youth team. And do you want to tell the guys what happened,
I was hoping
mate?
you were going to do this. So it was against like the Derby team, Forest Green Rovers. Wow, yeah, the first team pitch, really cool. Or the first team gaffer was taking the Resi game, so what a chance to impress. Like, this is going to be awesome. And I literally think I put my feet on the wrong way, the legs on backwards. It was horrendous. Like, I think I kicked the ball out for a throw-in more time than I found a teammate's feet. Like, and I reckon that was mental
Pressure,
yeah, and just being so stressed and so like, I have to get this right. And it's just kind of gone out the window. And you don't have the tools to deal with that at that age, because it's, especially football in that time, it was harden up, man up, get over it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How did you deal with the pressure? Were you one to get
obviously
nervous?
did it, mate, did I?
Fuck yeah. Were you one to get nervous?
Big time. Probably internally. I think externally, in the way I kind of deal with it is by putting on a bit of a bravado that I've got. I'm quite cool, calm and collected. It's even still to this day.
Yeah.
I don't want to let other people know I'm nervous, but I don't want my nervousness to make other people nervous too.
Yeah, you were shitting yourself for this podcast, weren't you? We just had to grab you out of the toilet. Yeah.
Oh god. So that was mental. But no, tools to deal with it. I think it was just, and again, this is the same for business now. It's I've done the work. I've done the preparation. Body's right. I've played football all my life. It's just another game. Does it always work? Maybe not.
No. That's it. It's just understanding we're humans. And I personally remember I used to stress so much about games. Like, it would be the day before, you'd have to eat the exact right things. you know, you'd do your stretching, you'd be in bed by a certain time, you wouldn't eat bad food. And it's like, you can do too much. And I remember I used to go into games so hyped up that you're just not relaxed and you don't play well. And even to, you know, a sales environment to a certain extent. And I say to our guys, don't chase the sale because people can feel it. And it's like, if you're so fixated on just getting that outcome, you forget the process. And the person on the other end of the phone feels that
Even
really
flow,
hard.
like, you know, when you're on a bit of a streak and things just seem to be happening, it's because you're not dying for a yes. Because if they're saying no, you go, oh, it's fine, I'll get the next one. And that definitely comes across in some type of energy or the language you're using. And I think it's the same for football. I know there's been games that don't mean much and I've had the best game of my life because the pressure's off in my head. On the flip side of that, the biggest games of your life where you really want to perform doesn't kind of translate, hey?
Yeah, I do remember, like, even when I stepped into the semi-pro game after obviously got released for being too short again. That was the second time in 12 months that happened. And yeah, I transitioned into the semi-pro game and all of a sudden I was like, do you know what, I actually don't care anymore because I went to uni and the goal wasn't necessarily to be a pro footballer. And it's like all of a sudden you chill out and you start playing better. And you're like, what the fuck, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's strange. So I got a yes, which was cool. So I stayed on, got a year's pro contract. So we divorced again, me and Harvey, that was number 2.
Yeah, tough times.
Yeah. Which was the best thing in the world. Like, it was literally what I worked for my whole life. Within the next kind of 6 months, that kind of flipped. So they took on 25 first-team players in the squad. You can have a squad of 18 on a match day.
Yeah.
And then other than that, you're just a spare part. Like, there was training sessions I'll be doing Monday to Friday, kind of doing all the work. And the Saturday, you don't get to, I guess, release it right or put that into practice. So it was a really weird time mentally. And I might as well put on a yellow bib and a bit of mannequin for some of the sessions. Like, it just wasn't needed, you know.
Like that day at Forest Green.
Yeah, I think you played better. Like, if I was there or not, it would have had no impact on anyone else. And I couldn't hack it. So it got to like the Christmas period where they have 3 or 4 games in a really short period of time. So they kind of picked this squad and I wasn't in that, which is cool. I got Christmas off, which I don't get in football. But I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, the Aussies don't realise that out here because obviously the football season runs through the winter and your summer break is your Christmas holidays. But back in England, you'd play the Saturday before Christmas, which is like 22nd, 23rd. You'd play Boxing Day because that's like one of the biggest games of the year for fans. So you can't enjoy your Christmas Day. Then there'll be a Saturday between Boxing Day and New Year. So you'd play again on maybe like the 28th or 29th. And then New Year's Day was the second biggest day for like fans because obviously everyone's off. So it's like you're strapping in to play 4 games in 10 days and they can be all around the country. So you're traveling 4, 5, 6 hours on the coach and you did that from the stand, you say?
Well, I just didn't go, right? Like, it was good, got Christmas off. And again, externally, I was going, yeah, that's a great win. Like, how good's this? I get Christmas at home. But internally, I'm like, well, obviously I'm shit at my job. Like, it wasn't a great feeling. So I remember having that time off and then literally hating the thought of going back. Like, it was, again, that pit in the stomach going, I don't want to be there anymore, which for an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid to go, okay, I've worked my whole life for this big dream and now it's the last thing I want to do, was probably one of the darkest, I guess, moments I've had because how do you tell that to your mum or your sister or your friends when it's all you ever wanted to do?
Yeah, because everyone's so proud. Like, everyone knows you're in an environment where you're waiting for this scholar and then you're waiting for this pro and you get it and it's a big celebration. So you probably feel like you're letting them down as well.
Big time. So I remember I kind of made the decision, drove up the M1 to Cheltenham, literally crying my eyes out on the way, like going, what am I doing here?
Yeah, wow.
Pulled the gaffer and said, and even this is a bit of a mad story. So the guy who gave us the deals, he got sacked. And then a new guy came in. He wasn't very good, but he was there for this time period when I went to quit. I said, mate, I'm done. I hate football. I don't want to play anymore. He goes, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I said, nah, I'm done. Like, I've already made my mind up. I'm going to Australia. Great.
Do you remember the penny drop moment? In that 2-3 years, was it a gradual decline of I'm not loving football anymore? Or was there one moment where you can pinpoint and go, that was it?
I think it was the break. I think because week to week, you're training, you're kind of just in that cycle.
Yeah.
But then having the 2 weeks off.
At Christmas.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is fine, right?
And I'm sure you'd have been looking after yourself on that Christmas break in the gym, no alcohol.
100%, mate.
Yeah, okay.
And then going, okay, I've got to go back into that environment now. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. There's no way. Like, and I just didn't see it getting any better because I wasn't in great shape, because I wasn't loving it. It was a bit of a cycle, so I didn't deserve to be picked
Yeah.
So because I wasn't getting picked, I was in a bad headspace. So I wasn't playing well. So I wasn't fit enough. So
Yeah.
there was no, at the time anyway, for me, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't really have, I guess, that kind of father figure or someone to look up to kind of give me a shake and go, if you want to do this, this is what you need to do. So then, yeah, pulled the pin, quit. And then literally a week later, would you believe it, the guy who I quit to, who wasn't very good, he got sacked. And then our old youth team coach, Russ Milton, who was a legend, gave all the boys their first contracts.
Rusty loved you.
He got the top job. So he gave all the lads who got deals with me New Year's, another year's contract.
Yeah.
So they stayed on, which at the time I was a bit bittersweet about. I was like, oh, if I waited another week, I'll get another year's deal. But then I was like, well, I didn't enjoy it. And at the end of that next year, so 18 months from then, all those boys got released anyway.
Yeah.
So they're kind of just 18 months behind where I would have been.
Yeah. Do you remember how you dealt with the transition? I know you mentioned, obviously, that's when you came to Australia. Was it, I'm planning to go to Australia and that's how I'm going to deal with quitting football and just leaving straight away? Or was it quit football, shit, what do I do now?
Yeah, a bit of both. So I didn't have a date for Australia. I knew I was going to go. And then there was a wedding I had to wait around for, which is 2 or 3 months. So I had 2 or 3 months I needed to make a bit of money.
Yeah.
That's when it all kind of comes crashing down where, okay, I did okay at school. Like I'm naturally can kind of get by, but I didn't really have any qualifications, didn't really have any skills that people would want in terms of a job. All of them play football. So I remember this one, I rocked up. This is horrendous. I went to some, actually, it would have been a recruitment agency. And I was like, yeah, I need a job. Like, haven't really done much, whatever. They go, oh, actually, there's a trial, like in like half an hour. Do you want to jump on the minibus? I'm like, yeah, sweet. Get
trial
there.
For what?
Yeah, get there. It's a bloody Mackey's trial. So I got on a bus to like one of the junction ones on the motorway.
Yeah.
And then it's a big like group interview at Macca's. And I'm sat there like going, oh, this is not for me. Like, because you had this massive inflated sense of self-worth, right? I've just been a pro footballer. I've been on FIFA. I can't then go and work at Macca's, which look at like saying these words now and go, what an arrogant prick. But definitely at the time, that's how it felt.
Yeah, bloody hell. And this recruitment agency literally just pulled you off the street and said, mate, jump on here.
Yeah.
It's not very good. That's not a very good process, is it?
Well, that's where we first learned how to start hardware, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I kind of did a bit of coaching because that's what I could do in football. And then really I was just counting down the days to go to Australia, get a fresh start.
Yeah.
Didn't have a plan. It was come to the Gold Coast.
Why the Gold Coast?
Purely because of the weather.
Yeah.
So it was March time. I looked at Sydney, which is getting a bit cold for winter.
Yeah.
Looked at Cairns, nice and hot, but I also knew that it was going to turn very muggy, very rainy in the summer. Gold Coast seems to be pretty level and flat all year round. That'll do for me. Happy days. So that was literally what it came down to.
There you go. So a high-level business podcast that we're trying to be. Just check the weather, mate, and then that's your location. Done.
The weather will make a decision for
The
you.
rest is history.
So yeah, so that was the failed footballer bit. That's the immigrant bit for me. So then what did you do, mate, when I pissed off? What kept you busy?
Yeah, so I went to uni. I remember the goalkeeper coach from Cheltenham saying, mate, don't go and try and be a number 2 or a number 3 at the league below. He's like, it's just a waste of time. He's like, just go and play games. So I think I dropped 2 leagues down into the Conference North, which is still a decent level. Played in and out for Gloucester City, which was a great experience, but then went to Hartpury University as well. So they were like a specialist sports university where the sell is that they give you a scholarship. So lads coming out of pro clubs, they love you, pay for your studies. You play football every day in the football academy, proper gym programming, and then you do your degree as well. I always was a really good performer at school. So I thought, great chance now to go and get a qualification. And I remember seeing you go in, and we'd always kind of spoke about the idea of Australia. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come after my degree. And you thought that was bullshit for a fair while. But yeah, 4 years of bobbing around the non-league circuit. So that's like the non-professional leagues in English football. Playing loads of games, did really well. Then got the degree and again, just thought, well, what am I going to do next? Because I didn't really know what I wanted to do from a job. I actually was working as a roofer for 6 months. Thought I need to save up, save some money. And a mate of mine was, owned a roofing business. And when you're up on a cold, wet, windy roof in England in 0 degrees and you're getting smashed by the wind, that's enough to send you to Australia.
I can imagine. And then at that point, by the time you came over, I was already working at Hayes Recruitment. So my start as a recruiter and the journey to get there, like I've worked in bars, cafes. I've stood in the middle of Pack Fair giving out scratch cards. I remember one thing I did was, it was Christmas time selling like Christmas toys. Stood in the middle of Pack Fair and this like pop-up stall. he was like, yeah, just come do this like trial, mate. I'm like,
Another trial?
Yeah, another trial, that'll do. Maybe it's a 10-hour trial, and at the end of it, he goes, yeah, great. Like, I think could be good at this. Here's $60 for today. Like, see you tomorrow. I'm like,
$6 an hour.
Geez, yeah. So that was one dayer.
How did you find a job with Hayes? Obviously you always had your dream of being a recruiter, right?
Yeah, it was just natural in me, I think. So, I've just honestly got my permanent visa through my partner, Maddie. So that's when you can get, like, there's no work restrictions. So you can kind of go and get a proper job, essentially. Before that, you've got 6-month limitations or only X amount of hours per week. So any employed doesn't really give you the time of day because there's not a return on their investment of the time and the training and the money they're spending on you, which I do understand. So that came through. Started applying for pretty much every job under the sun. I'd done a bit of sales in that time period and thought naturally that's probably what I'm best suited to. CV was absolutely crap. I remember it wasn't even in order. I remember I just tried to put the most important bits at the top, but then the dates were just all over the gaff.
Pro football would have been number one.
100%.
Yeah, good lad. Well done.
And then, Hayes got back to me. It was a pretty hectic onboarding process, to be fair. It was a phone call, then a big group interview, then a single interview with the Gold Coast director, and then another one with my actual direct manager.
Yeah, your interview process was so different to mine, wasn't it? I guess going back a little bit, I had the same journey as Ads. You come out on a working holiday, go and work in bars, restaurants. Thought I had sponsorship after like 3 months. Restaurant going, yeah, we want to sponsor you.
I remember this phone call. We thought you'd absolutely made it. Hey?
Jumping around, like, mate, they're going to pay me $65,000 plus super. And I'm like, this is it. 3-year sponsorship, and then I'm here forever. And then our good friend COVID-19 struck and I lost my job.
And it literally came crashing down like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Which is where your love story with Brit got a bit more serious.
Yeah, you made that sound a bit dodgy, didn't you? lost my visa and then,
that does sound so.
I was lucky. I'd already met Brit at the time. It was obviously going really well. And then, we were pretty serious by then. And I remember her saying when they were talking about, obviously, you're not getting your visa, you've lost your job sort of thing. She's like, that's a bit risky. Went down the same route as yourself, got a partner visa, which got that approved. And then coming out of COVID, that obviously meant the work restrictions were gone. So you'd been banging on the door for a fair while at Hayes, trying to get me in. How was that, mate?
That was the best bit of recruitment I think I've ever done. That was the hardest sell. Because your CV, like mine's crap.
Yeah, probably pro football at the top as well, because you think everyone cares.
And she was like, I just don't see it. Like, I don't know why it'd be good. Like, no. And then another week would go by. I bet, I'm going to go again. So actually, I think you should reconsider. Like, he's good. And I was doing pretty well at the time. So I kind of just landed going, look, I recruit all the time. I'm doing half decent at it. I know when people, should be decent at a job. He's very similar to me. So again, if I'm half decent, he should be half decent too. Just give him a bit of your time. Have a chat with him. And to be fair, she did. And I think the first thing she said to me when she came out, she goes, shit, he's exactly the same as you. I think that was a compliment.
Just a bit shorter.
Just a bit shorter.
Less hair. Yeah, I remember that. I think by then the interview process was very different. I don't know whether there was a drop off in people banging on the door of recruitment agencies or it was COVID, but it was just me, our director at the time, and one of the talent acquisition team, and she went hard on me. Like, she smashed me with a couple of role plays, I think, because I was your mate. I was obviously going to cop it a bit harder. We managed to get it over the line, and I think I started Jan 2021.
So then we're now failed footballers, immigrants, and now we're recruiters.
What a story.
So we're both at a big global agency. We think we're corporate, we're wearing our nice shirts, we're rocking up, taking on the world.
I went to Connor and got the old 3 shirts for $99 for sure.
100%. And then at that point, that was the goal, right? It was to progress through the company.
Yeah. You just don't know any different, do you?
Yeah.
I think as well, the training at Hayes is amazing. It's so intense. And it is very much just, okay, we are it. And there's nothing outside of this bubble. And it's like you just come through, you go either become a really, really kind of killer biller or you're a team manager. So you just set yourself on that path. You ended up in a bit of team management, which I know you're extremely passionate about.
Yeah, that was difficult. I'm more of I call it a coach, I reckon. I like people who have got a few runs on the board and I'm trying to improve, whereas I think you're really good at, okay, you're a rookie. This is how we do it. This is how we train. I think naturally at Harvey, you've kind of taken that role on, especially with Alana and Renee, who haven't necessarily recruited the way we recruit before. Whereas Miranda, I'm quite lucky with. She already knows what she's doing. So it's little tweaks here and there, but she's a gun. She's probably better than me anyway.
Some good recruits. We must be half decent at that.
Let's know what we're doing.
Hi, I'm Yas Madbouli, founder and CEO of Serving Our People. Serving Our People is a general charity. We're a delivery and logistics charity that has started in 2020 to help with the pandemic and the disasters across the country. We are helping very largely in food insecurity. We've got 3 people's markets to help people to come and get much needed goods when they need it. We operate in Southeast Queensland and Northern New South Wales, and we're expanding beyond. Please come and support us on sop.org.au. And we're very thankful to be a partner with this amazing podcast.
So we get this job, working at Hayes, big global agency. We think we've made it. What did you see the next few years looking like for you then?
I literally just thought that was me. Like, I thought that was me. You know, the pathway, the money you start on obviously isn't amazing because you've got to earn your stripes. It's a commission-based environment. So you go, right, I'm just going to go hard, get as much commission as possible. And I think even then we're looking at the people that were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ahead of us going, wow, like look at those guys. They're billing 40, 50K a month. It's effortless. You know, they're just great at it. And I thought that was probably me till the end. You know, good money, enjoyed it.
And at that time, I'd have been happy with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I was going, you guys have actually got it nailed here. And then you start to see them leave, right? And I think that for me was when there was 2 sides. It was really good because all these senior people left above me, which naturally kind of pushed me up the ranks. So I got to manage people and just took on more responsibility, which was cool. But then you're going, okay, well, why are they leaving? Like they've got such a good gig for my eyes. What are they going on to do? Okay. And then you speak to them and they go, okay, well, I'm working with this startup, I'm doing this. So I've gone internal, which isn't really a route that I think would be suited for. And then you start to look under the rug a little bit. Hey, okay, what else is out there? And I think the way we are as people, from pretty much 90% of decisions we make, we get the seed planted and it bloody grows quick, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we're just so inquisitive, and it was kind of like there's just always more. And I think recruitment as an industry changed quite heavily after COVID. Obviously, there was the gravy train where, I don't know why, but people were throwing around silly money. There just seemed to be opportunities everywhere. So I think a lot of recruiters were able to capitalize on that boom and go out with a black book of contacts, not much infrastructure around them, and do really well. I think since then, the tech stacks available to people like us and smaller agencies mean that you can compete and at times, if not, be more efficient than some of the larger agencies. Back 15 years ago, it was very much the big global agencies with the massive database. That's where the power was. Whereas that's shifted. And we had a few friends that had made the transition. As Ad said, a few people had left, gone into businesses like that. And I think you were at a New Year's or a Christmas party with a couple of lads from Urtech. And they were obviously talking to you about their journey. I think they were maybe 18 months in or 2 years in at the time.
Yeah, 18 months. I think they just ticked over their full 12 months. And I was tasting a few beers, trying a few. And then had a chat with him and he was explaining it and he was like, you're mad not to do it. Like, you have to. So I called Harves. Harv, mate, we've got to do it. Let's take the plunge.
This is a Saturday arvo, like 3 o'clock, and I'd probably like doing some meditation somewhere, like health and wellness. And this guy go, mate, we're starting a business. I'm like, righto.
And I think it's just that Dutch courage almost, you know what I mean? And that planted the seed. And then we started looking, okay, what does that need to be? And even then, it was a year away, right? Or 2 years away. Let's really establish ourselves. And I guess looking back, probably giving ourselves a bit of an out because it's so far away. We didn't really have to take it too seriously. But then that just started to change. I think then the money we were making for Hayes, we kind of go and imagine if that was for ourselves, some of the limitations of working for such a big agency where everyone's got to kind of conform to the same routine or KPIs or structure, probably just outgrew them a little bit, it felt like. And then that's when the snowball started to build, didn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember when we were like, okay, this is something we're seriously going to look into? And I guess for anyone that might be listening to this that's in a similar situation, do you remember what we did to actually start thinking, okay, is this even possible?
Well, the first one, I'm trying to think of the name.
That was hard. How did that process go?
Oh, I can't remember how it actually started, but...
What was it called for a while?
So for the first 3 or 4 months, while it was still an idea, we have our recruitment agency, which is now a really prestige brand called Harvey. It was initially called Rock Hard Recruitment.
And why didn't we land on that name? Do you remember?
Well, you type rock hard into Google, you don't get a recruitment agency.
Yeah, because we thought, oh, here we go, we'll be really clever. We'll spell it ROQARD. Right, Google search that. Turns out rock hard is an adult chat room. So I thought, yeah, we can't have rock hard adult chat room number 1. Rock hard recruitment number 2.
I remember calling my mum, going, "Mum, me and Harvey's going to start an agency." "Oh yeah, like what's it going to be called?" "You're going to call it Rock Hard Recruitment." "Oh yeah, nice ad, that'll go well." Like, she's so supportive, my mum. Like, I could call it anything. She'd go, "Yeah, that's great."
Bless her. Bloody hell. And I remember like when it seriously came down to it, we got a massive whiteboard off Marketplace because we were skint at the time, and you're like, $50, here we go. Put it in your spare room and just started writing ideas. What do we need? Legal, finance, systems. And after sitting back after an hour, we were like, shit, there's a lot to do here.
I reckon we filled the board. It was so much to think about, and we just didn't know any of it, right? I don't think a lot of... I started talking about recruitment because that's what we know. When you recruit for a company like that, really you just do your job. You don't worry about all the stuff around it. So you're probably a bit unaware of the level of back office and process and systems that go into it. And I'm surprised it didn't put us off, to be honest. Did it put you off at the time?
No.
No,
it didn't. I don't know. I just thought it didn't put me off. I just thought, okay, this is something that might take 6 to 12 months. You know, we'll go hard, get all this in place in the background, and then launch in 12 months, which for me, I was still only, 12 months into recruitment at a time, I think, or 18 months. So everyone else I've seen go out and do this, they're all like 10, 15 years, and we're there 3 years and 18 months going, yeah, we got this. So I was probably quite comfortable with that time frame.
Yeah, I think the underdog feeling to it as well.
Yeah.
I think because we weren't 20 years, senior directors or whatever, we still had a lot to prove as recruiters and obviously as business owners as well. And I think we got quite fortunate with time. And I think Deck from Ex-Recruiter reached out pretty much on the money. I don't know how he did that. He just hacked our system or something.
Yeah, Decker's reached out. And I thought, to be fair, we were still on the fence with it. You definitely weren't in. You're like, nah, we'll do it ourselves. And then I think we jumped on a video call with Deck, spoke about their model, which is incredible for anyone that wants to go out because it effectively allows you to plug in and play. There's obviously a bit of work in the front end with designing, branding, writing your website and all your documents, but everything else is handled. And when you launch day one, you literally phone, laptop, right, I'm going to recruit. So we did that call. And I think then we walked back upstairs, looked at the whiteboard and just went, yeah, should we go with Ex-Recruiter?
I think we'll do that one.
Yeah, we'll do that one.
What do you reckon? So we're June 2023, right? So what's that now? 13, 14 months, whatever it is. What do you reckon the difference in progression and trajectory would have been if we'd have done it ourselves compared to where we are now? Can you measure that?
I reckon we'd have only just launched it, mate.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, or maybe we'll be 6 months in and it would have been a rubbish brand, just crap. Yeah. I wouldn't even know what system to use. Like Loxo, we'd have never come across Loxo, which is our CRM. Yeah, I think we stumbled upon that in terms of Ex-Recruiter. But I think now it's such a valuable lesson that anyone looking to launch a business in any sense, go and get support. Like, go and get someone to help you that's done it before, has got a proven track record, because the mental list it takes off you is incredible.
So then Harwell is born. So Rock Hard got dropped. Harwell, after many nights and many hours spent trying to work out a cool name, came to life. And I think as soon as we found Harwell, we both just went, yep, that's the one.
That's the one. Yep. Yeah. Do you remember day one, Harwell Consulting? Where was it? What did we do?
Oh, I don't remember it actually day one, but it would have been start at my house, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Get the laptop out.
Yeah. Empty database, map out a bit of a market. Yeah.
Even then, it was so different to what it is now, right? Because the idea was we'll start Harwell so we can work 20, 30 hours a week, hopefully make as much, if not more money than we did working for a big agency, and just have a pretty good time doing it.
Yeah, I remember just talking about figures. Like, okay, I think I'd build 550K in my last year in agency. You did like nearly 800. So we were like, collectively, if we can just do a quarter of what we did last year, we're going to be all right. We'll pay the bills, we'll pay the mortgage.
It was just survive, wasn't it? That first year was absolute survive. And I remember there's a saying that I've said on a previous podcast as well. Kind of our mantra was the only way this thing fails is if a meteor hits the earth or something out of our control happens where we didn't stand a chance. If there's anything we can do to keep this baby alive, it's getting done.
Yeah, that's it. And then somehow we went and did like 125K in month 1. And we're bowling around thinking, fucking hell, we've made it.
This was mental.
This is easy. 2-hour lunch breaks at Pack Fair.
It's one of the best thing and the worst thing that could have happened, right? It was the best because it gave us a bit of
Money.
proof. Money's a big one, mate. But proof that, okay, we can actually do this and people actually want to give us their business, right? They're not just using us because we were working for a big company with a good brand.
Yeah.
They actually think we're half decent blokes, half decent at a job and want to give us a crack. And that's probably another one as well. The people that actually want to help younger people or people in general who have a crack, that blew my mind. The amount of message of support we got, even people that you think don't really like you that much or aren't that asked about you.
Yeah.
They kind of come out the woodwork and go, mate, I'm so buzzing that you've given it a crack, you've gone through it, you've made the leap. That was such a nice feeling.
Yeah. And there's the other side of that as well, where like I think some people were genuinely laughing at us. And the imposter syndrome was massive for us. So that month 1, I think just settled a lot of that down, and we just kind of got the belief of like, okay, we can do this. People do want to use us for us. But then we took 2 months off pretty much, didn't we?
It was a dry couple of months after that, which I think we needed. I think we needed to know, okay, we can do well when we put the work in, but as soon as the foot comes off the gas, so does the momentum, the revenue and the rest of it, which now we've been pretty consistent, right, on a pretty steady trajectory, which has been good. Did you ever get any like messages from like competitors or anything when you started and words of support?
No, I don't think so.
So I've got one. I'll tell the story from a competitor of his, recruits in the same space. Are you sure it's the right thing to do? Like, you know, you've got a kid, you've got a mortgage, you're leaving a really stable job. All of this kind of fear mongering, just I guess make him regret his decision or even pull the pin.
I don't know. It's strange.
It's odd, right? Like everyone else is so supportive. Everyone's going, yeah, great, have a crack.
Yeah.
And then just to have that one come through, and it's something we kind of still speak about now. Like, I'd never send that message. If anyone I know was going to have a crack, I kind of, we already do. Like we help, you know, people who are going for ex-recruiter, they give us a call. What do you think?
Yeah.
And actually you get more energy from helping. People. Like, I love that. So imagine actually writing those words out, trying to put a young lad off who's starting his own business with his best mate.
Yeah, a lot on the line as well, and it's that scarcity mindset, I think, and that was probably one of the biggest lessons I learned when we launched the business, because we've got massive energy. There were, you know, for the whole of it, loads of amazing people around us helping us, but then it was that thing of, okay, not everyone wants you to do well, and even since then, there's been people talking about us in the industry and trying to put people off working with us, and it's so easy to buy into it, and to a certain extent we did in some way, but then it's just like, I think Decker said, people only punch up. So it's just, okay, if people are talking about us, we're doing something right. So just crack on, dial in, focus, and keep doing what we're doing.
So Harvey turned 1 last month. So where are we now, mate? Where's the business? What have we done? What are we looking to do moving forwards?
I think we're in a great place. We're still very conscious that it's early on. It can turn very quickly. So we're still very much dialed in. We've built out an amazing team with the right people. There have been people along the way that have approached us that we haven't taken on because we don't feel they fit our culture and what we're looking to do as a business. So really happy with where the team's at. Moved into a new office, which gives us potential to expand even more. We've got some really exciting things in the works in terms of new partnerships, new business models. So that's going to be really exciting. Yeah, I just think dial in now for year 2. The brand is awesome. We're going to be working with some people to enhance that even further and just take things to a new level.
What would you have changed? What would you have done differently or not have done looking back for what we know now? Because I know, again, going back to the people we kind of speak to who are thinking about ex-recruiter, like I can talk for 5 minutes or 20 minutes. It always finishes going, look, long story short, if you're doing half decent in your agency and you're building decent numbers, just do it.
Yeah.
That's quite easy to say when you've come out the other side, right? I remember when we were in those shoes, there's people who said the same thing to us, and we still thought, oh, but what if? So what would you say to those guys?
Do it for a start. Just do it. Like the worst thing that happens, it doesn't work. But I think you've got to obsess over it. Be prepared. Like you think you like recruitment, be prepared to absolutely obsess over it. for 12 months. You've got to listen to podcasts on your way to work. You've got to read books at night. You've just got to be constantly upskilling. And then when you're at work, dial in and go hard.
I think my next bit of advice for those people is invest in yourself, in training and self-development. I think when we started, our world was this big from what we thought was out there and what we could do.
Yeah.
And then you start doing training, you start hanging around with people who are bigger, better, further along the journey. And you go, great, actually the world's this big, and it doesn't stop.
No.
But now the people we get to speak to and work with and just get to learn from, the world is this big. It's an absolute monster, and we're still playing here. But we know the limitations now. We know where we're going. We know what's possible as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice for anyone. Go and pay the professionals.
Yeah.
To do what they're good at, right? Don't try and do it all yourself. Know what you're good at, recruitment, and then go and pay as many professionals around that.
I guess getting real then, what support do we have? Like, who helps us? Like, how do we manage to have a recruitment agency and decide to launch a podcast as well?
Obviously the guys at Ex-Recruiter, what they do, setting up businesses, it's second to none. I genuinely think they're changing the recruitment industry. So if you are a recruiter, wanting to do it, just go and speak to them 100%. We've had some awesome business mentors along the way. I know very early on, and even when we were still with our ex-employer, Jordan Williams, who's a good friend of ours, trained at the gym with him, he was great in terms of giving us the belief and the motivation to just go and do it. And that's because he's got the runs on the board and he can talk of his experience. And then Tucky, I think, has been incredible for us. If there's someone that we could say has fully removed the blinkers and the limiting expectations, it's been him. And it's just putting yourself in the rooms with people that you probably laugh at thinking, fuck, I shouldn't be here. But the more and more you go on, you start to feel a bit more in place there. And then the room gets bigger.
And I think people want to help people who have a crack. Like, we've got a great accountant who's so helpful for us in terms of understanding the finance side.
Yeah.
We've got people who do media. George behind the camera has been incredible.
Shout out George.
Making sure
Pedro, the podfather.
And the podfather. Making sure the content looks the part. You know, there's Serge at Ex-Recruiter who we use there as well, who's also incredible and bought in and brings the energy. We've got Neve Sullivan, who's going to help us with the content and brand strategy, so we really formalise that.
Yeah. I think branding and presence is the number one thing. And it's something we probably stumbled upon, but you probably got to remember, yes, people knew Harvey Rivers from Hayes and recruited in finance. But I remember the first few weeks you're calling up, it's Harvey from Harwell. Who? Harwell. Who? Oh, don't worry about it, mate. So it's like no one knows about you. So you've got to make sure that brand looks schmicko from day one, because the first thing people are going to do when they don't know you is Google you, go on your LinkedIn. So I think that was one thing that we nailed and helped us.
Do you think some people ask me like, oh yeah, how did you decide to start Harwell? How did you decide what Harwell was going to be? And I don't think we ever said we want the brand to be this. I think we said we want the Harwell to just be real, really authentic. So that was kind of really clear-minded then, because it was okay, whatever I'd normally do in normal life, that's what I'll do in business life as well, which I think has been a bit of the magic that maybe we don't realise the impact it's had. But I think authenticity is a huge part of why we've got to where we are after 12 months. And people, I think, really relate and recognise the brand and then the people within what we do as well. What do you think about that?
Yeah, we've had no master plan. Like, it's just been 1 or 2 months at a time. Like we say, just go hard. Try and do the right thing by absolutely everyone. Give your absolute all. It's tough because when people say, oh, how did you do it? I'm like, fuck, I don't actually know. Like you said, we tried to be ourselves. We tried to be fun. I think we've come to an industry that's reasonably old school and has always been done one way, and we've probably come with something new, a different energy, a different way of working. I think sales in general is probably heading in that direction, where it's not old school banging on doors, forcing deals in. It's a bit more open and consultative. So I think that's been big for us.
I think going back to the sporting background, just the environment there, that's the type of environment we wanted to, and I think we have created for the business as well. And not even just the guys who work for us. I think the way we speak to and communicate with candidates, clients, mentors, coaches, whatever it might be, it's about performance, right? It's about how do we build that spirit where people want to come to work every day, or want to work with us, want to do a really good job, and then want to celebrate together as well.
Yeah, I had that penny drop moment the other day, and I think it's environment's everything, because we've got people that I think past employers didn't necessarily see them as a pivotal part of the business or one of the absolute leaders, whereas they've come in with us in the right environment and they are absolutely smoking it. And I just thought, wow, these companies have lost these amazing people because they didn't know their potential. Whether they didn't give them the license to go and hit their potential, I don't know. We feel like the luckiest people in the world, but yeah, people miss out.
But I think that comes back to authenticity again. I think it feels really easy because this is a bit woo-woo now. I think because of the universe and the energy we kind of put out there attracts that, right? Like I think people have seen what the company's about, and that's why I've had people go, hey, are you hiring? Can we work for you? Yeah. And obviously the guys we've got now, it's all come around quite organically. We haven't really chased anyone as much as we want them. We didn't necessarily go, okay, we have to go and find somebody to hire because we really want to grow. It's been, okay, we've got an opportunity to hire someone here. What do we think? And then it's been a decision based off that.
Beauty of it. Yeah, bloody hell. Well, that's a lot for people that have only been in business 12 months. Bit of advice, talking about it.
Feels like a lifetime, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we're super pumped for what this will bring. Some of the guests that we've got lined up ready to sit down with, we
How
think
do you feel about
incredible.
it? Like I've looking at the guest list, it's a bit intimidating. Is that the word? Like we're sitting down with some heavy hitters.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think they're people 12 months ago, if you'd have said, I'd probably been scared to bloody call them, let alone sit down and try and interview them and learn about their story. So yeah, the imposter syndrome will probably dial back in for a fair bit and then hopefully it'll fade.
What's that one that you say to me, like if you're not in rooms that scare you or something?
If you don't feel severe imposter syndrome every 12 to 18 months, you're not moving forward.
Love that.
Yeah.
So kind of come out the other side of the Harvey imposter syndrome. Great, we actually have a business. I can call myself a director now and kind of half believe it.
Yeah.
But now we're jumping straight back in, sitting down, trying to be podcast hosts.
Yeah, I think, again, it's just don't be afraid to try new things. Put yourself out there. If it flops, it flops. If it doesn't, brilliant. At least you had a crack.
So the guys who are actually going to listen, all thousands of them right now that are logged on.
I'm sure we've got a fair few.
What can they expect from this season 1 of How to Become?
We're sitting down with people from all different areas. There's leaders in business, whether that's people that have owned their own businesses or people that have worked for global leaders. We're sitting down with people that are elite at their sport in a number of different sports. And we really just want to learn about the story. How did you get there? What were the highs? What were the lows? That kind of warts and all, because people that get to the top and the discussions we've had with these people, it's not always the glitz and the glam that people think it is. And there are shit times and there are hard times. So it's just making people, perhaps at the start of those journeys, aware of that. So when it does get shit, they hang in there a little bit longer than what they might normally.
I think what I want to do is make these people who seem, and they are at the top of their game, but unreachable, make them seem a bit more relatable and go, actually, although they are an absolute weapon of an AFL football player, maybe we've got one lined up, who knows? Okay, we're actually quite similar.
Spoiler.
We're actually quite similar in terms of the way we operate, the way we are as people. Yes, they're very good at AFL, but what am I very good at in a different industry? But we share the same kind of characteristics, and just put these people on a bit more of a level playing field to an extent, because they do deserve the applause and the credit, right, for where they are, but really just humanise them a little bit, I think is what I'm keen to do.
Yeah, and just any small value bombs that we can extract from these people, whether it's in their work life, discipline outside of work. What did they do that they felt give them the edge above everyone else trying to do the same thing as them?
I think we're quite lucky with Harwell. We get to speak to people who run ASX-listed businesses. They're the directors of, building companies turning up hundreds of millions of dollars. They're at the top of their game, and it's cool, right? Like, it's probably one of the best things of the job is the stuff you learn just by osmosis, by being in the room and wanting to learn about the business so you can help recruit for them. So I think doing that on a bit more of a public platform without the recruitment tag on it, I think it's just going to be such a good conversation, and even keeping the really local feel. So the guys and the girls we've got lined up for season 1, they're all Gold Coast or Southeast Queensland based, hopefully well-known names. We definitely knew of them. Are pumped to somehow be able to get them to have a chat with a couple of English fellas.
Yeah, I think in our journey, one thing that's really inspired us and probably give us comfort along the way is podcasts and hearing these people that have done it speak. So if we can do that to our listeners, then job done.
So the way we want to finish every episode, if you could tell yourself something from the beginning of your journey. So a 14-year-old Harvey Rivers, or maybe when you first left uni, what would you tell him?
You've got your profession or your sport, whatever it is that you need to dial in. But if your home life isn't dialed in at the same level, it's not going to work.
I love that. All got to go together.
It's all got to go together. You know, you can't be a gun at work, but then you're out and you're chaos in your personal life. Since I've really grown up, would I say, and had a child and really settled down, the performance I've seen in recruitment and business has been like phenomenal. What about you, mate?
Mine would be obsess over the preparation. I think going back to footballing now, if you know you've done the work, if you know you've made the calls, or you've met X amount of project managers, or you've done X amount of LinkedIn posts, you know the end result's going to come. Not every single time, but more often than not, the work at the start looks after the product at the end. And I think when you're young, you're so obsessed over the end result and getting that win or that good performance or that deal over the line, you kind of lose the process and the prep along the way. So I think, believe it in that, saved myself a lot of headaches over the lifetime for sure.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. Episode 1.
I think
Done.
I think that went all right.
Yeah. Did you hit record, George? Good lad. Awesome.